Good day, Kennedale, and welcome back to this week's edition of Kennedale News Video Edition. I'm your host, Jeff Nevarez, and this week I have a special guest. We're talking business this week. We're talking marketing, something that I specialize in, and I have my good friend here, Josh Silk, who's the owner of RhinoStrenth SEO, or RhinoStrenth Marketing, I guess is what it's called.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about SEO, what it is, the different types of online marketing, and just what's kind of going on with COVID-19 and SEO or online marketing in general. For now, a moment from our sponsor, TechXperts.guru. All right, so if you have any questions on web design, online marketing, just give me a call at TechXperts.guru, 817-330-9865. Josh, thanks for coming today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jeff.
Get my video. There we go, white balance. Thank you. So, SEO specialist, that's how I know you. You're in the field just like I am. I see you around the boards. We do business with each other, and I'm glad to have you today. So, COVID-19 has been kind of crazy, but I know that you've picked up in business during this, and I've picked up in business during this. It's been so crazy. This is one of the reasons why the delay on the Kennedale News, the new website that just got released this week, so everybody go check that out.
Congratulations.
But it's just been a crazy 3 months, I know, for me and for you. Let's just talk about that a little bit. Let's start with what's SEO. What is it? I think most people are starting to understand that, especially in the last 2 years, but let's just label it.
Yeah, I think the simplest label is identifying with search engines. Like, businesses need to identify with search engines in order to get found for whatever they do wherever they're at. It's that simple. More than ever, people are online. And if you don't have SEO done to your website, your personal blog, your e-commerce store, your local business, you're definitely losing business to customers. It's just the truth.
Yeah, I always say that I'm selling online real estate, and that's what I do. Getting you on page 1 of Google, but it's, I mean, in this has been going on for about 20 years or so. I think it's more prevalent and been called SEO in the last decade. And of course, the high demand of it, as you've experienced just like I have in the last 5 years or so, with online SEO marketing, just because, like you said, usage is up. It's accounted to mobile devices. More people are searching through Google, for example. I believe 95% of all online searches go through Google, which is why
I think the same statistic is on on mobile phones as well versus desktop. It's pretty high.
I've definitely noticed. We were looking at statistics of one of my clients just recently, and it is overwhelmingly the phone now.
Yeah.
Which sucks for people like us, because our websites look so pretty on the PC, and we design it that way, and then mobile comes in, it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, more mobile devices. I even just saw recently a graph, the different types of day, like phone, early in the morning on the phone, I guess people are on the crapper. During the day, it's PC, and at night, it's the phone, and then at the peak of the night, like 10 o'clock or so towards bedtime, it's tablets. I thought that was an interesting graph, and I was doing a little research for what we're going to talk about today. So we're using all kinds of devices. I mean, I could search on my Xbox if I wanted to.
Yeah, well, they consider that mobile, though. I mean, that all falls into the mobile category. Anything remote. Not many people are sitting anymore.
Yep.
Everything's a go.
Yeah, for sure. And what we do is get people that page 1 or page 2 on multiple keywords. The good thing about what we do nowadays is, especially since it's getting more popular and just a little bit more congested, like obviously if you search plumber, it's a pretty competitive keyword, you know that as well. as I do, but we have trained Google over the last couple of decades on conversation. So we used to be like plumber, enter, back in 2001. Nowadays is who's the best plumber in Fort Worth. And these are keywords that we can rank on, is that whole kind of chain of keywords, which gives us more options and less competitivity of getting normal people's websites, small business owners versus corporate, get it out there in front of these people.
Yeah, I think the big shift came when people started talking into their cell phones
Siri.
and asking Siri these questions,
Yeah.
And really the people also ask in the predictable nature now of the search engines to suggest what you might be thinking. So it falls in suit with, how they're laying out their schematics. But yeah, that whole talk to text, Siri, Alexa, that definitely is the big wave, because more and more people are using less and less technology, but more and more technology. They're using less and less computers, sitting down, keyboards, mouse, and now it's, the Siri, give me, the local pizza shop. And they're like, okay, we got 5 pizza stores.
Yep.
And if your business isn't at that level, okay, the other people are, because they seek the services of guys like you and I. And as long as we're honest gents like you and I are, can't say that about all SEO companies in the world today.
No, not all of them.
But we make sure we keep our ethics, and we have good clients, and we get great referrals for it.
Absolutely. And I always say keep government out of internet, because internet is all of us connected. So we don't want government there. And we police ourselves pretty good. As somebody who's been in IT for most of my life now, most of us were nerds and played Dungeons and Dragons playing up. And so we played that knight in shining armor. And so in our fields, in our lives, we project that. We practiced it, all the kids. And so that's why we do police ourselves pretty good. It's a thing called ethical hacking nowadays, to counteract the bad hacking. So I agree with you, white hat SEO, if that even exists, but just good ethics in SEO to get a good company, I think will get you better results, definitely in the long run. Because it's always the Google Analytic update, right? Every time we have an update, our analytics messed up. And if you're doing bad things, then guess what happens to your client's website? It goes to page 5. Meanwhile, mine might stay the same, or I'll move up because there's a vacancy on page 1 that they were cheating to get to, and now they're way down here, and we move up and we ride that wave. And that's how it's been for years with my clients. Same for you? Yeah.
Yeah. We try to keep the links as clean as possible, and allow the content syndication to create, that relevancy and that authority these days, because it is all about content these days, as you know, as a media owner. Content is key, especially honest, truthful, factful content that is not censored through, third parties that just only have an opinion about the censorship in the first place.
Facebook, YouTube. That's why I'm happy to make the Kennedale News a platform. I'll choose who's gonna write for it, but it's their columns, it's YouTube. I'm not gonna censor you. Just it's your content. We might not necessarily agree or disagree, but I think that's good to have that platform and stay out of it, and just present good content, like you said. Content is king.
Right.
So we do what's called organic SEO, which is making the website behave in such a manner where Google likes it and puts it on the top of its charts in a very crowded page 1 nowadays. Excuse me. And it's very crowded because they have a lot of pay-per-click or PPC or ad space there, where people can pay the AdWords, and those are the ads at the top. Nowadays, Google Guarantee, which is huge for a lot of industries right now, if it's not overcrowded, is a good lead generator. But I think an interesting thing that's happened in the last couple of months in the COVID-19, which we'll go ahead and move into that kind of dynamic of it, is Facebook, where I've never seen success before. For most of my clients are service-based. They don't have a product. And you might get some, and it's pretty cheap. You might get some clients pretty cheap to go on Facebook. But in general, it's a wash usually. But recently on Service-Based, I mean, for $100, I'm getting a good 14 clients or so in a month's time. And if these clients are worth an average $600, there's a no-brainer there.
Totally. Yeah.
So COVID.
Yeah, and I think the whole AdWords from COVID really took. I mean, I even had to pause some of my clients' campaigns because we were seeing such increases of just bad clicks and bad search terms. And one of the things about the paid advertisement space is that you have to have such a grip on negative keywords and control of who's seeing it. With Facebook, it's getting challenging because more and more people recognize what they can turn off and how to stop ads from targeting them for particular aspects. With Google Ads, you can't turn off Google Ads. You use them or not.
Yeah.
But it really boils down to like most businesses that succeeded in the COVID-19, they had good brand positioning.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I really believe that's what it boils down to, even with the paid advertisement, because the better the brand positioning throughout all the assets, the better the royalty space, the better the user experience, the higher you're going to rank overall, including your paid advertisement. People don't recognize that. When you rank better organically on your Google My Business and your web page, you also get better placements on the ads.
Yep, you sure do. And you bring up an interesting point about branding, and like and people have seen the Sprinkler Repair. They've been sponsors on the show before. That's a client of mine, and you do work on Sprinkler Repair of Texas as well. It's very successful because of that brand, Sprinkler Repair of Texas. In Texas, that means a lot. It's a lot of weight, and this goes back to what the internet is, and people think it's this whole new dimension of advertising, but it's really not. It's the same old business 101, marketing 101, 102 tricks. We just digitized it. We just went to where people are hanging out, which is the internet. And so you bring up an interesting point about branding. It starts from day one on marketing is your brand. What are you going to get? What's your domain? Brand your domain. Make it a strong domain. Pick something that will capture people, make people pull in on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I wanted to share something with you. I've been doing digital marketing for a little over 5 years now as what they call a generalist. And what we're finding in the industry is it's becoming more challenging for generalists to give really high quality results to their customers because you really have to understand the industry that you're diving into. So recently, as you know, I took a plunge into the moving niche where I'm just going to focus on movers around the United States of America, including down there in Texas. I'm going to find me some Texas movers.
Yeah.
But, I truly believe.
We have good movers down here.
Right? We need some good movers. But ultimately, with like moving, for example, my mover down in Fort Lauderdale, my longest standing mover, he was just fine during the COVID. Because his positioning was good. We didn't pay $1 in ads, and he had just as many jobs as he did last year. Which isn't a good thing. I'm not going to say that's a good thing because we want more jobs than we want last year.
Sure.
But I mean, at least he didn't feel hurt this year, and it's because we've worked so hard for the past 2.5 years at really positioning that brand. So it weighs heavy throughout all of these different streams. So yes, digital marketing is just making sure that brand stands out properly throughout the entire www space.
Yeah, and I noticed similar results as well. And these are, I would call them like necessary, but service-based, which are always necessary. Plumbers, always necessary. Sprinkler repair is always going to be necessary. And even my bail bonds client, in a time where they weren't arresting and nobody was going out, we're still getting good traffic moving up because there were still things going on for the first time in the history of the world, we stood still for a month. And that's mind-boggling to me, first of all. But second of all, even when we stood still, we didn't really sit still. And people who had already been marketing online and been doing this for a couple of years were in the right position. Everybody else is scrambling to fix their websites and scrambling to do some sort of Facebook.
At-home business. At-home.
Yeah.
Did you see the Google Trends for at-home business?
I saw it.
I've been working at home for years. All of a sudden, Google Trends like, hey, there's a good thing going on over there.
And
all the gurus out there made a lot of money,
And actually, let's see. I'll share my screen. I'll show you something that's really interesting. Here we go. It was this chart. So this is a Google Trends chart. Let me move my video out of the way. You can see, and this is over the last couple of years. This is over the last year, right? 1 year. People were going on trips, everything. COVID, drop. Workout, COVID, up. This was what to do with home, up. And then online delivering, extremely up. And I thought that was an interesting thing just to show that even at home, we're busy bees. We were working out. We were trying to find things to do. We were ordering everything from Amazon.
I think that when these kind of problems happen in the world, it really allows kind of the weak to get shaken and the strong to really grow stronger, because you really learn and feel the weight of your shoulders on these kind of pandemics. For example, I have a lifelong friend that I knew since the 5th or 6th grade that she was a server and bartender her entire life, made, relatively good money. What servers and bartenders make. It's not what digital marketers make, but she was living an okay life. Well, let's talk about what happened to them. There's nothing there anymore. Even when it is, it's half, because the government says that we can only see half right now. So I'm blessed because we recruited her as the director of business development. So I will have a full-time forward-facing, brand executive to help us, speak with more moving companies about their brand.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just kind of funny, in the last couple of months, people have just been scrambling to do online marketing, but you and I know that, especially when it comes to organic, it just takes a little bit longer. So I always tell the clients, your first year, it should be a wash, especially if you have a brand new domain. The first 6 months, you're not making anything. The last 6 months, you're starting to gain a little traction. You should, whatever you paid me in that year, you'll probably break even by the end of the year, towards the end of the year. But that second year, if I'm doing my job right, that's when you start getting the ROI. And that SEO is permanently a marketing strategy in your business. Once you start, you don't want to stop, because what happens if somebody stops? And this is what happened the last couple of months.
Yeah, a lot of people woed back. I heard all over the forums, people were losing a lot of clients because they were getting nervous, and about losing money and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't lose anything. I actually gained clients throughout this whole, situation. And ultimately, anybody that scrambles to try to find a solution when a problem has already arisen is already too late. Yep. It's like you see the influx. I see it all the time on my feed. All of a sudden, you see everybody and their mom can help, small businesses. And that's the problem, is that you can't. It's not that easy. It might have been that easy 5-10 years ago to help a small business, but it's got to the point where if you don't know that small business in and out, if you don't have the right softwares, the right tools, the right understanding about, clean link deliveries, good luck. Old school SEO, it just doesn't work the same as it used to. And brand building takes time. And that's what I hope all your listeners, both, business owners and non-business owners, you want non-business owners to recognize that, the effort behind brand building is legit, and that's why organically it stands very strong. Sprinkler Repair of Texas, And it holds that weight, and it creates that revenue stream for those businesses that, unless our power grid goes down and the internet shuts off, Google's always going to be there. It's still going to be there. People are still going to be searching, and they're still going to be clicking around trying to find something.
I know one of the biggest hit around here in DFW are event coordinators, or even just serving food in events, that kind of thing, caterers. And I saw a lot of caterer friends on Facebook just stressing. Some of them shut down, and you could see it. And I had gained a new client that would do catering and do weddings and things like that. And you know about that client as well. And I said, look, now's the time. Like, go now in preparation for fall, when we can get back to some sort of normality, because there's a huge vacuum of event coordinators and event planners and event places that have closed down. And when people are going to come back, and around here, August is fundraising season. That's when it starts, because July's too hot around here. That they're going to still be doing these things, and we're going to be able to go back out, and you'll be in the best position at the time, while these new companies or companies are coming back are, starting it back up. And you know how it takes, once you start back up, it takes even a month just to get it start back up, and then you can move forward on the second month. By then, these guys are already in great position. So I've had a lot of clients double down in the last couple of months. I think that's just a good business owner kind of mentality. You attack the problem with more money. Throw more money at it, it'll fix it.
When done properly, it shall, and that's definitely an attest to the strength of the business, because you always gotta plan like that. And the good business owners recognize that the time is now, and take massive action and really solidify you in that area, because some people aren't turning their lights back on. Okay, so a lot of the competition, some of the competition that was one job away from being broke, 3 months ago, they're broke. And the real problem is it's very sad, because all of these business owners around the country whose businesses have shut down because of, COVID, lack of positioning, government, restrictions and whatnot, they can't go off and ask the government for unemployment and stuff. You see all these people offer
in Colorado. In Colorado, you could.
Oh, really? Business owners were able to get money, huh?
Yeah, I was like, but they have a state tax, so maybe they're a little bit more crazy.
Yeah, they've been paying for that money for a while. I'm in Florida, we don't do that tax stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it just sucks, because what are these business owners supposed to do? But again, if you're just starting a business, I know it was rough and you probably couldn't get to it, but I know independent business owners in this community that do things like leadership training that just adapted. They came up with some sort of online way of doing what they're doing, and now it's so popular that they're hopping in business too. Business is still moving. Business will never stop. Even when the market's crashing, it's always going to move forward. And that's why marketing, what they say about 30% of your annual income should be spent on marketing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so what do you think some of the pitfalls of marketing will be online in the next, let's say, for the rest of the year, moving into 2021, besides Google?
Well, I mean, that's the biggest unknown all the time is the fact that Google updates are just so random. They're so odd sometimes. They really put a corkscrew into normalcy. But they're working the kinks out of their system as they evolve. I mean, they're only 20-something years old, 21 years old. I mean, it's not, it's a baby in the grand scheme of it, and it's still learning. What I am seeing, though, it's important for business owners to recognize that it's not just Google who's the leader in searches. And, as these weird times go on, don't be surprised to hear about more and more different search engines, because a lot of them are popping up, like DuckDuckGo, and everybody has heard of Bing. Everybody's heard of Yahoo Local. Remember that the grand scheme of it, Google, Bing, Yahoo, these are still advertising agencies. They're not, media providers. They are strictly data aggregating, advertising junkies that they have created massive $1 trillion systems that allow people to access what we call the World Wide Web and find things on it. But there is many search engines, some search engines more private than others, making it a unique challenge for brand building. It's more important than ever for brand building because these unique private search engines are based on high quality factual content, okay? Not going after, the forged spammy websites. That's a big problem in local service, as you know, is these spam sites, these lead generating sites that, really have no owner but leverage power. It really affects the local businesses. We understand that, the marketing game behind it, it's kind of like a billboard. But Google's algorithm shifts sometimes put these assets above, and it's confusing to actual customers. It's not a positive user experience when they're getting duped because they don't really know who they're talking about. They don't know. They're not seeing any real people. They're not seeing any real testimonials. It's all dupey. Other search engines have done a good job at eliminating some of this stuff. So you'll see more of those search engines in the near future.
I also don't think it's necessarily eliminating, but just not participating. Like you said before, 95% of searches go through Google. So why even bother? It's sort of like the whole viruses. More PCs get viruses than Apples. Well, that's because they made more of them because there was more PCs than there are Apples in the world, and that's the result of it. So I think it's the same mentality. Is like because it's really easy to do things of Bing. As long as you're making it rank on Google, it's going to rank in Bing if you do the same similar things. But the usage
quality websites are. And that it all boils back to, that brand positioning.
Sure.
And making sure these business owners realize the value of brand building on the internet. Google's winning for now. Yes, we know this. We're definitely in agreement of it. But I'm always interested in what's next.
Sure.
You know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at YouTube.
There's got to be something next.
Yeah, look at YouTube. Second largest search engine in the world.
And it's like, there's got to be another one coming. We thought it was going to be TikTok until we realized it was TikToking behind it.
Yeah.
The next
I know
one.
Facebook's really strong right now too. They're overwhelmingly killing.
Facebook's the #1 website on Ahref. I mean, it is numero uno website in the Ahref's eyes. So,
1.8 billion users this year.
Quite impressive website it is. Huh?
Absolutely. How do you? Because I know some people are going. They hear a lot of SEO. They get a lot of phone calls. Yeah, your Google My Business listing is bad. And I get those too when I answer. I get them to answer, and I say, I do SEO, and they're like, click. I know they're fake, but things like Yelp and Home Advisor. Home Advisor seems like it's trending less, and clients are using less. And I think that's because their corporates kind of taken over on their side, same as Yelp. How do you feel about these kind of directory listings, YP.com?
I feel like their day has definitely passed. I feel like they had really did clients wrong for a long time. I know in the moving niche that I specialize in, we're definitely seeing a downward trend because the leads were coming in phony, they were coming in very expensive, and business owners, they're not going to fall for it forever. I believe one was experiencing some heavy lawsuits for some sinister activities.
Yeah, Home Advisor is,
Yeah. And it all boils back. Like, I try to explain this to business owners all the time. You cannot sell your Angie's List profile.
Yep.
I mean, it's not yours to sell. Just because you have a profile on there, you cannot put that into the evaluation of your business.
Yep.
You can't sell it. It's not your asset. You can have it as your digital portfolio, but you can't put a dollar sign to it. And that's the big problem, is that so many business owners fall trapped to building their whole life. I mean, you find it. You go on Angie's List, Home Advisors, Thumbtack, and you can find guys that you don't find on the internet. where they've built their entire business around it. But unfortunately, that person is going to always work for his or her business. You know, big thing that I try to teach to my moving customers is really building that business.
And I say it all the time, if you have a company that has your website that if you cancel, they take your website away, that's not the best company you should have. You need to call a company like mine or yours to where we build you a building and we let you move in. It's your building. You own the property. You know, we don't own it. We just help you take care of it. And that way you can sell it. It goes, again, when you sell your business, you're selling your online property just like you're selling your real brick and mortar store. It's all the same. A domain value nowadays, especially to SEO experts who do like PBNs, for example, a domain 3 years ago would cost, you know, $100 if it had some SEO. Nowadays is $6,000, $10,000 if it's a good branded domain that has SEO history and has some link. So hang on to all that stuff. It is valuable, and make sure that you fire these companies that are renting your website space with just your logo, because when you fire them, all they're going to do is turn the traffic onto another company of theirs.
Well, I think that was the problem with a lot of these big box phony directory lead generation aspects of YP, Yelp, Home Advisor. You know, they definitely throttle people. And, you know, if you don't give them more money when they call you over and over and over and over, I swear they got like a little button in the back, because as soon as someone gives them money, you hear it from every single business owner. You know, I gave them money and at first it was great. And then they called me and they asked me for more money, and then it just completely went silent and they kept billing.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I've always said that if, like, there was remember Yodel? It was a few years back. Yeah, Yodel. And so they would rank and by zip code, for example. And like, oh, so you're getting leads. No, that wasn't a lead. And you look at their analytics, just like you look at Yelp's analytics, and you're like, that's crap. There's no way I'm getting all that. And so I never trusted those kind of internal, anything that says, here's your analytics. I don't trust those, because especially now that I know a little bit more about SEO than I did back then. I mean, those can be inflated, those can be faked. For me, it's always go to the source, go to Google, you know, like go to the search console, go to analytics. And that's what I present to my customers. And even you do that to your customers. You have a nice white label template, what I would say would be a back-end template like Yelp, but it connects the console, it connects to analytics, it connects to Facebook to present those things. That's a little bit different.
And you know what? That's that value positioning that you get when you hire a very good search engine optimization company that's reputable, is that they have all these, you know, shortcuts for business owners. And that's what it really boils down to. If you don't have those cheat codes, you're not beating the game. I mean, I just hate to break it to you. And it's like, it's the simple truth. And it boils down to how your website is presented throughout the World Wide Web. Does everything match? Is it factual? Does it link well? Does it have good flow to it? Is it silo structured? You know, everything we try to teach our moving customers, you know, it boggles them. They're like, all this stuff has to be this way?
Yeah.
And it's like, hold up. You have a moving company and you want to do $1 million a year and you got 5 pages on your website. It's like, how are you going to teach the world that you're the best mover for all the different things you do with 5 little pages? It's like, wow, you know, and you hit them with like 10,000 words.
I always tell people, like, you know, SEO, what it comes down to is it's a secret code that none of us will ever see in our lifetime, and that we're guessing by doing all these different things and seeing how Google reacts, like a rubber band where it stretches where it does. We're guessing in a big battlefield called page 1. And that's what we do. And that's what we do for a living. It's not as simple as I'm going to make a website and there's your website on the internet. That's been long gone for a decade, for over a decade. Now you have to do things. You have to maintain the health of the website, make sure it's updated, you know, make sure it's loading fast. So these little things will tick you down off that page 1 if you're there very quickly, and then reacting to the updates. There'll be 5 updates this year, and we don't know what they are. They'll tell us generally, but we don't know what it is, and so we have to come up with plan B or plan C sometimes just to get around it. But there's so many different aspects with on page, off page, social media, or social cues, videos and content and backlinking. There's so many different aspects. So when your SEO company comes by and says, yeah, this is going to cost you $2,000, hopefully you'll understand that there's a little bit more going into it. So my last question for you is, somebody want to get into SEO, what's the expectations of SEO? What's the cost you would think? Let's just say for a regional, not a national.
Yeah, the cost of search engine optimization, it differs from niche to niche depending on how hard and how fast you want to go. Okay, the big joke in SEO is like, how's it work? Well, it
the
depends.
faster it'll go. That's what I tell my clients. The more money you throw at it, the faster we can do this. That's what I tell
them. Yeah, it depends. It depends on how you want to go. Do you want to go fast? Do you want to go paid? What I teach my moving customers is that if we go from a paid standpoint, I can get an ad campaign launched and getting some kind of traffic to these movers within 72 hours. We can't do that with SEO. So, with a new business or a business that's looking to really put the gas on it, get a good marketing company that understands how to do the pay-per-click up front and do a good solid SEO campaign for the long haul, because if done properly, a little bit of money can be spent, as you were explaining earlier, and you can reap that forward momentum money that you need to keep the wheels moving.
And I always say, especially, and I do this with my clients who have a limited budget, okay? I say, look, it's going to take a long time. Stick with it. You'll get results. I'll get you there. In the meantime, your first 6 months while I'm having to play with Google just to say, hey, I'm over here. Pay attention to me. Google my business. Work on this Google my business. Get the reviews. And more importantly, get the reviews with your keywords in it. So this is my tip to everybody. When you get a review for Google, and make sure you're getting fresh reviews all the time, encourage them to include the service or product that they bought. And so in my case, if I sent you a link, you'd be like, Jeff gives us the best SEO services in DFW. You should really pick TechXperts.guru. Google sees SEO. They see TechXperts.guru. And you can tell this when you Google sometimes, you'll see that Google will say, this came up because it has the word this. Or you'll see a Google My Business in the reviews, they bold those letters. And that's how we know they're doing this. And you and I know that they're doing this because we used to do all these tricks just a year ago and 2 years ago to make it rank better for everybody. And now they took those kind of tricks away. And they're trying to limit it to where the reviews matter. So that's my tip. Google My Business. If you can't afford SEO, at least make that thing behave for you. Upload pictures with the labels of keywords you want. Have people review from their homes if you don't have a brick and mortar business. And you yourself hit Google Maps and travel from your home and your employees from home to work to home. These are kind of social signals for Google My Business to rank it.
Yeah, there's some good insider tips right there, Jeff. Yeah, hopefully the listeners are caught.
That one's free.
Hopefully they caught them with them because they were good, definitely.
And there's so much content on YouTube. I have a couple clients that are dangerous enough to do their SEO. Of course, they'll never excel like our companies would do for them, but they're just as dangerous. So, YouTube, there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of information, and that's what matters. If you start hearing the same kind of repeat, and it's fresh content, it's not from 5 years ago, I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, the big problem with SEO these days is that we are always using old, outdated tactics. Every quarter we're pretty much outdated, okay? But what can never go away, okay, is good brand authority and good brand positioning, okay? Making sure that the World Wide Web knows that you're a good entity. I know that your SEO services, you include all kinds of different services to ensure that directories and all these different listings will help these Google My Businesses. But there's also ways of leveraging softwares to get more reviews and more traffic and more eyeballs to your business. So, if you're listening to this and you own a business, reach out to Jeff with Tech Experts and talk about some of these different review strategies and some of these different Google My Business strategies. because we do have some relatively low cost, simple aspects to get you in and turn you on, plug you in, to help the equation at least move forward until you got enough traction to start doing some aggressive, content creation campaigns and some real good, relevant link building. But don't try to fix the transmission on your own. It's one of those things that it's getting so much more challenging that even SEO people can't get results.
And competitive. It's very competitive.
It's so competitive, so challenging, so you just can't do what YouTube says anymore. By the time it gets viral, it's already, Google either identified it and shut the back door, or
I always tell other SEO guys, because you're on the same forums for helping new guys as I am, and you just tell them man, some of these suggestions are 2-3 years ago. You're like, dude, Google sits on the same classes that you and I take every year to keep up with, the biggest marketing guys get out there, and here's their new tips and tricks. We try to keep up with the times ourselves so we can be relevant for our clients, and it's just it's mind-boggling, how much it changes so often and how much you and I have to spend every year just to keep relevant.
Yeah. But the one thing that I've seen over the 5 years, and I keep saying it out loud, is that brand authority wins every single time. If you own a business and you have not spent significant time concreting that business brand into your head, into your community, into the World Wide Web, into your free platforms. I mean, a lot of this stuff can be done free. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of these things are free platforms to get things started. Building a website does not have to cost several $1,000s. You can always start with a domain and a simple lander. Don't let the big mountain scare you from taking the first couple of steps, because if you own a business and you're not giving time and resource and allocating something to your digital marketing brand presence, you're going to be smoked.
Yep. And I'll tell this for all new business owners too. And this is a growth that you and I and all business owners, the first 5 years, first 7 years for a restaurant, it's just that growth phase. If you can survive 5 years, you can survive a lifetime, is what they say. But you start off, get your website. It's your storefront online. Get it, even if it's simple, even if it's a Wix.com. I call them baby websites, the free ones. Wix and Weebly and things like that. GoDaddy has one as well. A
5-year-old can do it.
Yeah, anybody could do it. And get your Google My Business up. Get your Facebook, social. Make it interacting. And Google's talking to me over here. Shh, Google, I'm not talking to you. She's listening. This is listening. You and I had a conversation on the phone last night. Right after we got the phone, we were talking about something and it came across my Facebook feed. See, I know.
It was a sign.
They're listening, man. They're reading our emails and everything. Where was I? So you do these things. I tell my clients, I'm like, I don't want to break your bank. I don't want you to go bankrupt because you're trying to pay me to get this ball started. You're going to go trudge the mud just like everybody else who starts a business. Go do that. Come back to me when you're ready for phase 2, which is a big boy website, a WordPress website, or use Elementor, or just a big boy website, something that can be created and optimized and visually is better and can be ranked online. And then let's talk about incorporating this permanently forever in your business. But I always tell them, don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's marketing 101. You don't just do all your brochures. You make sure you do brochures and you go to these trade shows, and you still got to hit the cement. You got to go to chamber meetings and meet and greets your first couple of years. So go out there and shake hands. And if you're already an established business, you've been around for 5-10 years and you're not doing online marketing because you're old fashioned, you've been doing it 40 years, you're relying on your brand for over the 40 years, your repeat business, get it out there. If you're to that age where you're retiring, you're going to want this ball rolling. So when you sell a company, that ball's rolling. Nobody's going to want to buy a company that doesn't have that.
One big thing that old timers that I love talking to that are like, oh, I get all my business off referrals, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but you can't sell that.
Yep.
Why don't you actually put some of that money into building your digital asset, because you can put that part of your brand evaluation. I mean, if you spend $5,000 building out everything and connecting everything and getting a better positioning, and then you get to add $50,000 to $100,000 on your evaluation. It's a pretty smart move. Not too many businesses. It's shocking when a business doesn't have a website. There's not many these days that don't have a website. There's still those anomalies though.
Yeah, there's still a few, but at least have a Facebook page. You know, if you're not, I mean, you'll get it one piece at a time. But and if you haven't updated your website in a while, please call me. I mean, just call me, just please. You have no idea how many times you've already been hacked. 1,000,000 times. You've been hacked. I'm telling you, if you haven't updated your website recently, you've already been hacked. I'm telling you right now. All right, Josh, any last minute thoughts?
Hey, no, I just want to let everybody know that I appreciate their time and that we are specializing in moving companies. If you own a moving company and you want some specialized SEO experts to work on your assets, give movingcompanymarketingusa.com a click and check out all of our amazing content. We definitely spew a lot of nuggets throughout it for our moving customers. We have a cheat sheet for like a checklist for moving marketing. You don't have to be a mover to utilize the checklist. It's pretty, overview of digital marketing. You can find that checklist on the movingcompanymarketingusa.com and grab it. Try to apply some of the things to your business. It's free. You know about it because you listen to it, and I appreciate your time. So have a great day.
All right, thanks. And if you're a marketing agency, I do recommend Josh do all your off page. He's got a strong team, and man, he's just been killing it for my clients the last couple months. So marketing agencies, you need an off pager, Josh Hawke with RhinoStrenth. He'll hook you up. You find him on Facebook. He's there. He's there making a lot of noise on Facebook. All right, and thank you to everybody who's sitting at home. If you have any questions, reach out to Kennedale News, and we'll see you at the next one.